First of all, I regret not being with you as I would have done under normal circumstances today. And this is due to the travel ban imposed on me by the US administration. What is my crime? Having done my job, having delivered what I have to, 6 reports, 7 now to the United Nations, bringing to the fore the fact that enlighten the kind of crimes, the gravity, the depth of crimes that Israel is committing and increasing with the complicity of a variety of actors. The report that caused the sanctions that remained still unaddressed, and for this I don't blame the United States alone. I think that it's absolutely necessary that the international community acts in unison to make sure that the sanctions are lifted, and this ad hominem measure is not repeated against anyone else. But in the face of this, the responsibility is also of member states, and I agree with a colleague who has spoken before me. The gravity of the situation today speaks to a vulnerability that is becoming bigger and bigger within the United Nations system. That a UN mandate holder who serves pro bono the United Nations on the basis of trust, knowing that he or she will be protected by the organization, is one. There is also 2 years of attacks against UNRWA that finally have been clarified by the International Court of Justice itself. There are the continuous attacks against anyone who speaks on behalf of the oppressed, and anyone who tries to advance justice, and this is unacceptable. So what is that I would have shared with you in person today? After the presentation of my report yesterday, and you saw the level of attacks that even that report has elicited. I've been accused of witchcraft, no less. I could have been accused of anything because my reports are written by a human being. So I would be happy to see for once anyone engaging or critical of me, engaging on the substance of my reports. And it has not happened. Israel has accused me of witchcraft in 2025. Because this doesn't only have to do with who I am as a voice extremely critical of Israel, extremely critical of apartheid Israel, and who's tired of seeing mothers, fathers, and children slaughtered every day, using and misusing even concepts of international law. And today, under the banner of peace, 200 Palestinians have been slaughtered in Gaza, and no one looks today because there is a ceasefire. This is the meaning of ceasefire according to Israel. And for denouncing all this and the system of complicity that upholds it, a woman, because this is witchcraft is something that is primarily addressed to women. People like me, up to a few hundred years ago, would be burned in a public square for speaking truth. All the more speaking truth to patriarchy and to power. We are still there, where a man who represents an entity, a state in this case, which is committing crimes as it breathes, accuses a woman of witchcraft. And the fact that the Israeli ambassador was allowed to speak and go on with its runs for 7 minutes without being stopped tells a lot also about the august institution that you are part of, not able to lift the sanctions against a person protected under the Convention on Privileges and Immunities, not able to stop the representative of an apartheid state turning genocidal, because this is what Israel is an apartheid state that has turned its settler colonialism into genocidal to respect the basic principles of the institution it's part of. But this is the core of the matter, and this is what I would like to insist now. It's in a context of sustained and intersecting violations of peremptory norms of international law that Israel's settler colonialism has been allowed to fester, that the apartheid has been consolidated and normalized. And member states have, with few exceptions, have done not much to prevent genocide, to stop genocidal acts, and to punish all the crimes connected to this genocide, from incitement to execution. And so the genocide continues. But my last report tries to add something more. I looked at what member states have done, especially in the last 753 days. And I realized that, again, there has been more support than deterrence toward the acts of genocide that Israel has been committing. And in fact, the international community has enabled it through diplomatic fora that, instead of serving peace, have been used to advance dehumanizing language against the Palestinians, or legitimizing Israel's false claim from self-defense to fighting against terrorists or human shields. We keep on seeing this. The betrayal of the very function of the United Nations preserving peace by using international law. Israel claims self-defense for the soldiers who are killed in the Gaza Strip. But this is Palestinian self-defense. I'm sorry, but the Palestinians, Israel cannot claim self-defense in the land that occupies over and over. And the military ties that many states in the General Assembly are still still have with Israel, make them responsible, and the men and women who are in government in those states personally liable, because transferring or buying weapons, intelligence, and having joint trainings with genocidal states shows intent and leads to complicity. And of course, trade. How come that after 2 years of genocide, member states continue to have businesses with Israel, primarily Western states, but not only, including states in the Arab region? How come? And I have to say, it pierces my heart, especially I've just come back from South Africa, where I've had some very few and uplifting days, reminding myself of how important is the struggle for Palestine, which was at the core of the South African struggle, but I really don't think that we have appreciated enough what Nelson Mandela used to say. Our struggle, our freedom is not complete without the freedom of the Palestinians. Because the Palestinians, like South Africans in the end of the apartheid situation, were and are the victims of European settler colonialism, and are paying the price for it, and are being tested, they are treated as guinea pigs of an experiment that keeps on going. And this is not against the Palestinians themselves, and it's not against the UN themselves. It's transforming the very Arab region into a project for decolonization because we have been fooled by the idea that we have a settler colonialism. Greater Israel, it's not about the expansion of physical border. Greater Israel is the expansion of dominion and a concept of subjugation, and the Arab region is already falling into this. Because if we look at many countries that in the past 20 years have been put on their knees from Iraq to Libya to Lebanon and Syria today. This is the realization of Greater Israel in the bigger scheme of US imperialistic dominion. This is happening under our watch, under your watch. And look at this is the last point I wanted to raise. The humanitarian function, the fact that for 7 months, the humanitarian aid, instead of being delivered only and according to the principles that had been set including by the International Court of Justice, Israel had to allow unfettered access of humanitarian aid. Aid has been the distribution of aid has been left in the hands of the state which was committing genocide, and the state was its partner in crimes, the United States. This is the situation. I mean, the Palestinian sacrifice mirrors the incapacity of the international community to come together and deliver the promise of the UN Charter and the United Nations as a whole, this organization that has just turned 80. Excellencies, this institution is not in a good shape. And what happens to Palestine, what happens to the people in Sudan, what happens to the people in Congo, speak the same language. The United Nations is not able to preserve peace and stability and prosperity and to realize human rights. This is the brutal reality. And it's becoming, as I've said already 1 year ago, more and more irrelevant to the younger generations. They are not like mine, believing in this ideal world represented by the United Nations, which was there to prevent horrible crimes, including genocide. After 2 years of watching the Gaza genocide and the dispossession of the Palestinians wherever they are, the blaming of the Palestinians wherever they are, including in the United Nations, this is for many not just trauma, it's memory in the making. And we still have time, we still have a little time to recover, but we need to do the right thing. And for this, we need principled and United Nations, made also of the countries who broke the chains of colonization, of colonialism decades ago, that today are not as strongly aligned with the quest for freedom of the Palestinians as they should be, as they are naturally called to be. And I want to close on this sober note, calling for a moment of reflection on where the United Nations, not just for Palestine, but for all of us, should go next. Thank you.